the weekend. As I mentioned a moment ago, though, some of our fellow citizens are quite literally wasting police time. Too many people are using 999 calls for utterly trivial matters, and we surely should take our initiative, take common sense into our hands here and be reminded there are things we should be doing rather than automatically calling 999. Let's get some help in this. Peter Blexley is a former Scotland Yard detective who's joined me on the line right now. It is extraordinary, Peter. You've probably heard many an anecdote of some calls that come through for utterly rubbish things.
Yeah, the most ridiculous one being somebody calling 999 because they had the wrong topping on their pizza that was delivered to them.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost beyond comprehension.
It is, isn't it?
But
yeah.
It's around 75 to 80% of 999 calls actually are not 999 calls. There's no current threat or risk to life or harm being perpetrated on someone or something. And consequently, the police have a huge job on their hands to try and filter out those which are genuine and those which can be dealt with another way. It takes up a huge amount of resources and money, and there is now tech being rolled out that can go some considerable way to helping out with all of this.
OK, the worry would be as soon as you put any kind of triage or any kind of filter system in place, whether that's human-driven or computer-driven, that a genuine call might not get through. Is that a concern?
Well, this technology, which has been rolled out by Peoplesafe.co.uk, has been tested to the strictest British standards, every other piece of legislation that it needs to comply with. And I've seen their response centre, and it quite literally is bomb-proof, built to withstand terrorist blasts, because, of course, it's an emergency service. And they take what they do incredibly seriously because it is people's safety. And that is to be welcomed. And I embrace it. And I think the sooner it can be rolled out as far and wide as possible, then we'll lighten the load for those under pressure 999 call handling centres.
Now, those call handling centres are usually staffed by what? Civilian workers for the local police force. It is not actually police officers who answer those calls, is it?
Yeah, but there's police officers in all of them, of course, because, say, for example, if a chase happens, a vehicle chase, then immediately somebody has to take command of that to say whether the...
So that involves a police officer stopping what they were doing and having to pay attention?
Absolutely, yeah. So they're over the shop, ready to respond in any given time. And then, of course, likewise, if there was a major incident, you need an experienced police leader in there to start directing operations, calling upon the necessary resources.
Yeah, but people calling about pizzas, Peter, I mean, presumably the call handlers just deal with that, write it down and cut off the call. And make a note that phone number's, full of daft people.
Indeed, only to find that the phone is ringing again, because in the UK, a 999 call is made every 3 seconds. The length and breadth of the country. So it's an astonishing workload that they have to deal with.
And we're saying, just you were reminding us that some 80% of those calls are actually a waste of time in terms of they do not need the immediate attention of a police officer.
I'm not going to use your language, Martin, but they're not calls that require an immediate 999 response. Some of them are genuine, very genuine, about crime, but they can be dealt with in another way because they don't need a police car with the sirens blaring to actually attend.
OK, now I appreciate you were describing this new system which the police can use from their end. As civilians, as members of the community in the country, surely we can do better as a population and just stop phoning them up unless it's really an emergency. Wouldn't that be your message?
Well, the harsh reality is in this day and age, the streets are becoming increasingly violent, and that's borne out by whatever statistic you want to look at. And so there is an obligation upon us all now, I think, to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. And if there's tech that can help do that, then I think it's only right that we utilise it. Peoplesafe is an application which is rolled out from huge organisations such as the NHS down to smaller retail units. And what happens is people buy into this technology and it will monitor you on your commute, when you're going home, when you're at work. And if ever there is a situation whereby you need an immediate response, you can do as little as just pressing the power button on your phone, and it goes straight through to these state-of-the-art high-tech response centres, who will then immediately get in touch, and within 4 seconds. And they, of course, act as a triage. They will triage, and because they have very good working relationships with the police know that when Peoplesafe send them a call, it is an emergency. They don't have to filter it. They're not going to be getting any pizza topping calls.
Peter, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Peter Blexley, former Scotland Yard detective. 9